Hello, my lovely Rose Garden, and welcome back to Throne of Ass, Chapter 25. We've been doing this for 25 chapters now.
Feels like an eternity.
And we're still, in terms of chapter count, not quite halfway through the book yet.
I want to die.
Well, you're locked in for another 28 chapters. Plus the bonus episode. Which there will be a bonus episode. And hey, if you're listening to this on YouTube and you're like, I sure wish that I had access to a month's worth of early content, well, you're in luck, because for the low donation of $2 a month, you get early access to all of our videos, including up to a month early of Throne of Glass episodes. We try to have like 4 up for patrons before they go live. So, yeah, that's like 4 weeks out. That's about a month.
Yeah.
So you could be listening to this a month before it becomes publicly available. And if that's not your speed, that's fine. Even just following our Patreon will get you some rewards, like access to the Discord server. And just $1 a month gets you access to the patron-exclusive channels of that Discord server. So, something to think about. Would appreciate it greatly if you supported us.
And hey, if you spend more than $2 a month, you get access to our patron-only videos, including us dunking on Avalon's writing just as hard as we're dunking on Sarah J. Maas now.
Yep. $2 a month. It'll get you a lot. It'll also get you your name in our actual published books.
Wow.
You ever wanted your name in a book? Great way to get it there. So yeah. All right, that's our spiel. We're going to get into it.
Yeah.
We have other shit I want to do tonight, so. Because we're currently, and I'm going to be vague on details here, but we're currently writing a little story together, a little role play that we're doing, and that is infinitely more entertaining than this. And I think it also helped me understand why all these enemies to lovers stories just don't hit with me. And it's not because conceptually there's anything wrong with enemies to lovers. I think that as an idea, it's a pretty fun thing to explore.
Yeah.
The problem is that, A, half the time it's not even really an enemies to lovers. See my review on Fourth Wing for more on that. But also because my taste in fictional relationships leans so heavily toward wife guys that I literally could not imagine them being on opposing sides of a conflict. Like, let's be real.
See, okay. The best enemies to lovers thing is like a very morally dubious hero and a punch clock villain.
I go in more for, like, the Romeo x Juliet anime, where they are, like, perfect for each other, but they, through no fault of their own, circumstances and whatnot, are on opposing sides of a conflict. But even then, I look
It's
at...
like the star-crossed lovers.
Yeah,
thing.
I like the star-crossed lovers as, like, enemies to lovers. But even that...
I guess it's because I always fancy myself a deconstruction.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking, like, I just straight up am not an enemies to lovers person, I think, because so many of my characters are just wife guys. That if the love interest decided one day to just wake up and do crimes, they would be down to drive the getaway car. Like, yeah, maybe they would try to talk them out of it, but once they were locked in, they're locked in.
Yeah.
And they're on for the ride. Like, let's be real. Fucking Like Falling Stars.
Yeah.
Technically, there's no romance in that book, but fuck it, yeah, there is. Nicholas has known Anne for like a week, and he is so down bad for her that he's willing to commit light treason just to have her around. Like,
Yeah.
that's the amount of wife guy I'm talking here.
Yeah.
So, through this RP, I have discovered that that's why enemies to lovers doesn't work for me, because wife guys
Yeah.
are the best. Just 100% down for whatever shenanigans could possibly happen. Anywho, this episode, this chapter opens on a dream sequence.
Oh, fun. I love dream sequences.
I legitimately do love dream sequences.
Okay, I'll restate. I love dream sequences in this book.
Oh, I see. It's sarcasm.
Yes.
I understand that. I have been trained to recognize it. I'm just saying, like, in general, I enjoy dream sequences because they can be really weird and symbolic. I don't like them being too literal.
Yeah.
But I like characters that have, like, dream walking abilities or, you know, getting to really play with visuals and representations of things. I have a book that I'm working on that has a lot of dream sequences that are, you know, a whole other story happening in the background. Like a story within story with a dream sequence is really fun for me. I like dream sequences a lot, actually. Let's see how this makes me hate them.
I like dream sequences not in this book.
Yeah, I'm like, let's see how this is gonna make me hate a dream sequence. Alysicles dreamt. So at least they're telling you up front that this is a dream.
Okay.
I will give it credit for that. That it's not gonna have some, like, crazy plot twist and then be like, and then she woke up. Like, at least they are being upfront and saying this is a dream. She was walking down the long secret passage again. She didn't have a candle, nor did she have a string to lead her. She chose the portal on the right, for the other two were dank and unwelcoming.
Dank.
And this one seemed to be warm and pleasant. And the smell, it wasn't the smell of mildew, but roses. The passage twisted and wound, and Alysicles found herself descending a narrow set of stairs. For some reason she couldn't name, she avoided brushing against the stone. The staircase swooped down, winding on, and she followed the rose scent whenever another door or arch appeared. Just when she grew tired of so much walking, she reached the bottom of a set of stairs and stopped. She stood before an old wooden door. A bronze knocker in the form of a skull hung in its center. It seemed to be smiling. Well, honey, I don't know if you know this about skulls.
They can't do anything but smile.
They pretty much automatically do, like, the image of a skull smiling isn't even a original juxtaposition. Like, the amount of smiling skulls in literature is immense. Because by default, all of their teeth are showing. I would be weirded out if it looked like it was frowning.
Yeah.
She waited for that terrible breeze, or to hear someone cry, or for it to become cold and damp. But it was still warm, and it still smelled lovely, and so Alysicles, with a bit of mustered courage, turned the handle. Without a sound, the door swung open. She expected to find a dark, forgotten room, but this was something far different. A shaft of moonlight shot through a small hole in the ceiling, falling upon the face of a beautiful marble statue lying upon a stone slab. No, not a statue, a sarcophagus. It was a tomb. As one would expect from the skull door knocker.
Yeah.
Trees were carved into the stone ceiling, and they stretched above the sleeping female figure. A second sarcophagus had been placed beside the woman, depicting a man. Why was the woman's face bathed in moonlight, and the man's in darkness? Well, honey, I don't know if you know this about holes in the ceiling. Okay, I'm being pedantic. I'm being a bitch. He was handsome, his beard clipped and short, his brow broad and clear, and his nose straight and sturdy. He held a stone sword between his hands, its handle resting upon his chest. Her breath was sucked from her. A crown sat upon his head. Weird place to put her breath was sucked from her, but okay. The woman, too, wore a crown. It wasn't a tacky, enormous thing, but rather a slender peak with a blue gem embedded in the center, the only jewel in the statue. Her hair, long and wavy, spilled around her head and tumbled over the side of the lid, so lifelike that Alysicles could have sworn it was real. The moonlight fell upon her face, and Alysicles' hand trembled as she reached out and touched the smooth, youthful cheek. It was cold and hard, as a statue should be. "Which queen were you?" she said aloud, her voice reverberating through the still chamber. She ran a hand across the lips, then across the brow. Her eyes narrowed. A mark was faintly carved into the surface, practically invisible to the eye. She traced it with her finger, then traced it again. Deciding that the moonlight must be bleaching it, Alysicles shielded the spot with her hand. A diamond, 2 arrows piercing its side, then a vertical line through its middle. It was the word mark she'd seen earlier. She stepped back from the sarcophagi, suddenly cold. This was a forbidden place.
Like, okay. She's really, like, cogent in this dream. Which is a weird bitch to have, but it's still a bitch of mine. Like, okay, when you're in a dream, there's always kind of a level of acceptance of things. Like, yeah, some things can be weird, but, like, it doesn't really affect you as much.
Your brain just kind of rolls with it?
Yeah, because it's just your subconscious kind of talking to itself. So, I'm just like, her acting all, oh, it's the word mark, this is an evil place, and I'm all like, I don't know, this just feels like her being awake, but finding out things that she's not supposed to find out yet.
Yeah, which, you know, again, if she had dream-walking abilities, which I'm surprised she doesn't, and she was, like, going into someone else's dream who, like, knows about this shit, you know, like, dream-walking's really fun. She is acting a little too much like exactly how she acts when she's awake.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dream. Get weird with it.
Yeah.
She tripped on something, and as she staggered, she noticed the floor. Her mouth fell open. It was covered in stars, raised carvings that mirrored the night sky, and the ceiling depicted the earth. Why were they reversed? She looked at the walls and put a hand to her heart. Countless word marks were etched into their surface. They were in swirls and whirls, in lines and squares. The small word marks made up larger ones, and the larger ones made up even larger ones, until it seemed the entire room meant something she couldn't possibly understand. Alysicles looked at the stone coffins. There was something written at the feet of the queen. Alysicles inched toward the female figure. There, in stone letters, it read, "Ah, Time's Rift." Okay.
Ah.
Literally. Ah, Time's Rift. It made little sense. They must be important rulers and immensely old, but... She approached the head again. There was something calming and familiar about the queen's face, something that reminded Alysicles of the rose smell. But there was still something off about her, something odd. Alysicles almost cried aloud as she saw them.
Also, like, how is she able to smell in a dream?
The pointed, arched ears. The ears of the Fae, the immortal. But no Fae had married into the Haviljard line for 1,000 years, and there had been only one, and she was a half-breed at that. If this were true, if she was Fae or half-Fae, then she was... Alysicles stumbled back from the woman and slammed into the wall. A coating of dust flew into the air around her. Then this man was Gavin, the first king of Aderlin, and this was Elena, the first princess of Terrasen, Brannon's daughter, and Gavin's wife and queen. This means nothing to me. I do not care.
Also, this whole scenario feels way too grounded in reality. And I'm just over here like, so this is just like... This really is just... Sarah J. Maas being all like, okay, well, she didn't take this, but we're gonna just have her dream that she did, and it's going to be the same exact experience that she would have had if she did take that path.
Pretty much. It's just a choose your own.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a fucking Clue chapter. That's how it could have happened, but what about this?
Yeah. And I'm just over here like, this doesn't feel like a dream. This just feels like...
This just feels like what should have happened in the last chapter.
Yeah.
Also, I guess that people from Terrasen are Fae, which would make Alysicles Fae, probably, which we all fucking guessed that, right? With SJM's obsession with Fae, we all gathered that she was probably Fae, right? We knew that? Okay.
Yeah.
Even before we saw, like, that one
there was no
box art.
There was no doubt in my mind.
Sorry, I had to grab some water. All right. Alysicles' heart pounded so violently that she felt sick, but she couldn't make her feet move. She shouldn't have entered the tomb. She shouldn't have strayed into the sacred places of the dead when she was so stained and tainted by her crimes. So do you love killing or not, bitch?
Yeah, do you...
Something would come after her.
What is your feeling on being an assassin?
Something would come after her and haunt and torture her for disturbing their peace. Now I wish they hadn't told us this was a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be disappointed if I found out this was a dream, but this doesn't feel like it's a dream. This feels like she just went back and went down the other pathway.
Yeah, it's like, this isn't weird enough to be a dream. We need some... she backed up into a wall and there was dust, and I'm just like... These are all details that would either be glossed over or shifted in a dream world.
She should be falling through time and space right now.
Yeah, she shouldn't have stumbled.
The floor should literally be the sky.
Yeah.
And the ceiling should literally be the earth, and she should now be falling upwards.
Yeah.
Upon realizing that.
Yeah.
Get weird with it.
I'm so tired of people being all like, oh, we have to have these super literal dreams. It's basically like premonitions because we have to give the main character more information than they should realistically have at the moment. And I'm like, no, you're stupid. That's stupid. I hate you.
And it's a fantasy book. Give someone dream-walking powers.
Or better yet, stop doing premonitions because 99% of the time premonitions are lazy story writing.
I mean, I am guilty, but also that's a fair criticism.
It's like it literally is just an excuse to give characters information that they shouldn't realistically have access to yet.
In a not very fun way.
Yeah, in a not very fun and kind of just boring and direct way, as opposed to having something actually interesting happen to reveal this information.
Yeah.
Instead, it's all like, oh, it came to a character in a dream, or a premonition, or the fucking chosen one, and I'm just like...
Yeah, I will say, I will commend a series that I think does future visions and prophecies actually really well. Mm-hmm. Wings of Fire. Mm. There are only a handful of characters that can see the future, and the ones who can reliably choose to see into the future, because one of them, Moonwatcher, her main psychic power is telepathy, hearing others' thoughts.
Yeah.
She occasionally gets flashes of future sight, and she cannot figure out what the fuck is going on in any of them. Uh-huh. And half of the time, she gets it literally minutes before it happens. Yeah. So she doesn't really have time to affect it. Yeah. She can just know, oh shit, that cave's about to explode, but by the time she can tell anyone about it, it's happened. Yeah. So, that's a good, they can see the future, but barely. Yeah. So it keeps stakes high, because then people are like, well, how did you know that was going to happen? And it leads into some character conflict and things like that. That's a good way to use it. Or another character in the same series, Clearsight, as her name would have you believe, can flawlessly see infinite futures. And she has the worst anxiety because she can see how everything's gonna go and has to constantly second guess all of her actions to make sure that she's keeping things on the right path. And every time she does that, there are also dozens of ways that it could end horribly. Yeah. So for every bad future that she subverts, there's another bad future to look out for on the horizon. Yeah. And it completely fucks with her mental health. And also ends up being used to her detriment, because her boyfriend can also see the future, has decided the future that he wants, and then gives her, like, an enchanted item so that she only sees the possibilities that he wants her to see so that she thinks they're on the right path. Meanwhile, they are careening toward the bad future, but she can't see it because he, like, blocked off. But because her future sight has been so reliable up to this point, she has no reason to doubt that what she's seeing is correct. So there are ways that you could play with this kind of power.
Yeah, but
this is stupid.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I said 99% of the time, it's just an excuse for lazy writing. And the only way that this can be subverted as to just giving the audience information as opposed to the character is if she completely forgets what she just dreamed about.
Yeah.
It'd still be bad writing, but at least it wouldn't feel as cheap.
At least there would be some dramatic irony.
Yeah. Like, as long as the character doesn't end up with that information that she should realistically have no access to, then I can kind of forgive it. Not fully, but kind of.
Or if it's being, like, manipulated in some way to, you know, like, if it ends up being false. And then it ends up being, like, someone else is implanting this into her brain.
I mean, realistically, it's probably not, though, because, you know, we all know that the people from Terracent are Fae and all this shit.
Yeah. I'm just trying to give, like, the listeners at home some hopes that, hey, if you put a psychic dream to explain something to your characters in your book, that doesn't automatically make it a bad book.
Yeah.
Sometimes good books have a little bit of crap writing here and there, and it's okay. The problem is that this book has been all crap so far.
Well, I'm just saying, if you do that, find some way to make it interesting and not come off as cheap.
Yeah.
Because if you just do it so that your character has an in to information that they shouldn't realistically have access to, go back and try and find a way to make that more interesting, I guess. Like, go back and find a way to give them that information that isn't just, they had a prophecy.
Yeah.
Like, if you can, give it a shot.
And I just realized what they're doing here. See, it's been a while since we've recorded, so I forgot. It's Samhain in the book right now. So I get to be angry about that. Yeah, anywho. In before ghost shenanigans. But why was their tomb so neglected? Why had no one been to honor the dead this day? Why were there not flowers at her head? Why was Elena Galathinius Havillard forgotten? Against the far wall of the chamber sat piles of jewels and weapons. A sword was prominently displayed before a suit of golden armor. She knew that sword. She stepped toward the treasure. It was the legendary sword of Gavin, the sword he had wielded in the fierce wars that had almost ripped apart the continent, the sword that had slain the Dark Lord Erewhon. Even after 1,000 years, it hadn't rusted. Though magic might have vanished.
It's gold.
Well, the armor is gold.
Oh.
Though magic might have vanished, it seemed that the power that had forged the blade lived on. Damaris, she whispered, naming the blade. You know your history, said a light female voice, and Alexis jumped. Oh, sorry, it's a light female voice. I'm going to use my Silver voice that I used for Cinderella Boy.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Silver, for dishonoring you in this way. You know your history, said a light female voice, and Alexis jumped, yelping as she tripped over a spear and fell into a gold-filled chest. Our assassin, everybody. The voice laughed. Alexis grappled for a dagger, a candlestick, anything.
Girl, what?
Then she saw the owner of the voice and froze. She was beautiful beyond reckoning. Her silver hair flowed around her youthful face like a river of moonlight. Her eyes were a crystal sparkling blue, and her skin was white as alabaster. and her ears were ever so slightly pointed. "Who are you?" the assassin breathed, knowing the answer but wanting to hear it.
Why? Wait, why would you do that if you knew the answer?
Because she wants to hear it.
Yeah, but why would you be all like, "Who are you?" snarling? Like...
Oh, she breathed. I just snarl everything she says. So she's being like, "Who are you?" But I'm over here doing harpy shrills.
Oh.
"You know who I am," Elena Havliard said. What?
She didn't even say it. She's
Did
like,
not even say it.
Don't you even fucking play with me, bitch. You know who I am.
Her likeness had been perfectly rendered on the sarcophagus. Alysicles didn't move from where she had fallen into the chest, despite her throbbing spine and legs.
You're dreaming. How would you be able to feel the pain?
I think we've established at this point that this isn't a dream, it's just a vision. So they lied to us. Like, they couldn't have even, like, done something more... I keep saying they. She. Sarah J. Maas. Could not even have done something more clever, like... Instead of just opening it with Selena dreamed, having it be like... Selena could have sworn that she had laid down her head to sleep, but she found herself again in the tunnels.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just like...
Leave it at least slightly ambiguous?
Okay.
Alright, anyway. See, I've gone from... liking that they acknowledged that it was she. Sarah J. Maas does not use they, them pronouns. I don't know why I keep saying they. I have gone from liking that she said that it was a dream directly to fucking hating that. Because this is not a dream. You just lied to me, bitch. "Are you a ghost?" "Not quite," said Queen Elena, helping Alysicles rise from the chest. Her hand was cold, but solid. "I'm not alive, but my spirit doesn't haunt this place." She flicked her eyes toward the ceiling, and her face became grave. "I've risked much coming here tonight." Alysicles, despite herself, took a step away. "Risked?" "I cannot stay here long, and neither can you," said the Queen. What sort of absurd dream was this? It's not. Shut the fuck up. "They are distracted for now, but..."
Also, okay, so she's dead. Her spirit doesn't haunt this place. But she's not a ghost? Bitch, what are you then?
I think what she means to say is that she's a spirit that has moved on, so she's not haunting anything, but it's Samhain, so she's, like, visiting Selena.
But that still means she's a ghost. That still means you're a ghost, bitch.
Whatever. Elena Havliard looked at her husband's sarcophagus. Alysicles' head ached. Was Gavin Havliard... Gavin Havliard? You don't have to use their last name every single fucking time. Distracting something, especially because you didn't use it last time. You just said Gavin Sword. You didn't... Gavin Havliard. We know, okay? We know he's...
Gavin.
We know he's Dorian's great-great-grandpa or whatever, okay? Shut the fuck up. Who needs distracting? The 8 Guardians. You know of whom I speak. Alysicles stared at her blankly, but then understood. The gargoyles on the clock tower. Oh, I'm glad she reminded me, because I would completely fucking forgot about those things. I forgot about the clock tower until just now, honestly.
Gargoyles.
Okay, we got Goliath, Brooklyn, Lexington, Broadway,
Bronx.
Hudson, Bronx, Angela, and fuck it, we'll throw Demona in there.
Yeah.
All 8 of them.
All 8 of them.
If anyone puts Demona on their Hear Me Out cake, I'm gonna riot. Demona is not a Hear Me Out. She's hot.
Anyone who puts anyone... Like, okay. If you are a cishet man, and you put any female character with a snatched waist, boobs and a butt, it's not a Hear Me Out.
It's not a... And you can't be like, oh, it's She-Hulk, she's green. That is not a turnoff.
She still looks like a supermodel. I don't care if she's green.
If you could put her in grayscale and have no problems, that is not a hear me out.
Also, Mystique is not a hear me out either. I don't care if she's blue and scaly. She's naked.
A bitch walks around in the nude. Specifically from the X-Men movies. And I don't care even if it's the animated series. She was a hottie in that,
it's
too.
It's not a hear me out.
It's not a hear me out.
And also, cis women, I'm coming for you too. Nick Wilde is not a hear me out.
The Robin Hood from Disney's animated Robin Hood is not a hear me out.
Aladdin is not a hear me out.
Kovu is not a hear me out.
You gotta
You're just a fucking furry, okay?
Get weird with it or get the fuck out.
For nerds out there, Gardevoir is not a hear me out.
Gardevoir isn't a hear me out. Neither is La Bunny. You're just a furry. Get over it.
You're just a fucking furry, okay? If you're putting a Pokemon on there, it should be some shit like Magneton, okay?
Yes.
Like something fucking weird that anatomically doesn't even make sense.
It better not be shaped like a human.
If it's bipedal and has a face, it's not a hear me out. And then that's all I'm gonna say about that. Moving on. The Queen nodded.
I feel like we should do a hear me out.
No,
Just to ruin the internet forever.
No. Because then I would argue that, like, all of my hear me outs are not actually hear me outs. Draco from Dragonheart is not a hear me out. He's voiced by Sean Connery. That's not a hear me out.
No, that's why you gotta get some weird ones.
That's like my weirdest, and I'm putting that in quotes, weirdest one, though. And I'm like, I'm sorry, once again. Dragons are not a hear me out. Anyway. A meaningful look passes between my husband and I. And he is not surprised at all by the words that come out of my mouth.
I'm not.
Moving on. Because I enjoy my Silver voice. I love Silver so much. I love Cinderella Boy so much. If you're not reading Cinderella Boy, fix your life. Do some self-care. Read Cinderella Boy. It's so good. It's so fun. I am a fast passer, so I got to see the Halloween episode on time. And it was great.
Don't say anything.
I won't.
Don't say a goddamn word.
I legitimately refuse to spoil Cinderella Boy for anybody who, actually cares about spoilers. There are things that I will show my friends, and I will just show them the spoilers because I know they don't give a shit. I ask first with Cinderella Boy. I'm like, hey, do you want to read this, or do you care if I give you spoilers? That is a lot of consideration from me.
Anyway.
And publicly, I will not say shit.
Let's continue.
Anyway.
Let's get through this.
They guard the portal between our worlds. We've managed to buy some time, and I was able to slip past.
She grasped Elisicle's arms. To her surprise, it hurt.
You must listen to what I tell you. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything has a purpose. You were meant to come to this castle, just as you were meant to be an assassin, to learn the skills necessary for survival.
The nausea returned. She hoped Elena wouldn't speak of what her heart refused to remember, hoping that the Queen wouldn't mention what she had spent so long forgetting.
Something evil dwells in this castle, something wicked enough to make the stars quake. Its malice echoes into all worlds, the Queen went on. You must stop it. Forget your friendships. Forget your debts and oaths. Destroy it before it is too late, before a portal is ripped open so wide that there can be no undoing it.
We got a portal.
Oh, we got a portal.
Get into this room. I gotta go find the portal.
You don't want to be in the same room as a portal for too long. Her head whipped around as if she heard something.
Oh, there is no time,
she said, the whites of her eyes showing.
You must win this competition and become the king's champion. You understand the people's plight. Aeriel needs you as the king's champion. But what is...
The Queen reached into her pockets. Bitch got pockets in that dress? Hell yeah.
It's been hundreds of years. What the fuck?
They must not catch you here.
Do I have to go on my pocket rant again?
No, dear God.
They must not catch you here. If they do, all will be lost. Wear this.
She pushed something cold and metallic into Alysicles' hand. It's dangerous to go alone.
Take this.
It will protect you from harm.
She yanked Alysicles to the door.
You were led here tonight, but not by me. I was led here too. Someone wants you to learn. Someone wants you to see.
Her head snapped to the side as a growl rippled through the air.
They are coming,
She whispered.
but I don't understand. I'm not who you think I am.
Queen Elena put her hands on Alysicles' shoulders and kissed her forehead.
Courage of the heart is very rare.
The stone has a power when it is there. She said with sudden calm,
Let it guide you.
Let your heart be your guiding key. There's not an original line of dialogue in this book. Like, okay, I'm sorry. Maybe it's just me being brain rotten. Maybe courage of the heart is very rare. Is not a weird thing for a character to say in this scenario. But the fact that it is the exact same phrasing as Nicodemus uses in Secret of Nim from Don Bluth. Come on now. Knowing that there's also a direct, like, quote lift from Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. And knowing that Sarah J. Maas is about our age.
90s kid core.
I'm just sitting here like, press X to doubt. A distinct howl shook the walls and made Alysicles' blood icy.
Go,
said the queen, shoving Alysicles into the hallway.
run.
Oh,
Needing no more encouragement, Alysicles staggered up the stairs. She fled so fast that she had little idea where she was going. There was a scream below and snarling, and Alysicles' stomach rose in her throat as she hurled herself upwards. The light of her chambers appeared, and as it neared, she heard a faint voice cry from behind her, almost in sudden realization and anger. Alysicles hurtled into the room and saw only her bed before everything went dark. Couldn't you just woken yourself the fuck up? Like, come on now. Alysicles' eyes... Oh, sorry. Time skip tilde. Alysicles' eyes opened. She was breathing hard.
Okay.
And still wearing her gown. But she was safe. Safe in her room. Why was she so prone to strange, unpleasant dreams? I don't know. This is the first one you've had, as far as I can remember. We're halfway through the book, and this is the first time you've had a weird dream. Would have been nice to establish this sooner. And why was she out of breath?
Find and destroy the evil lurking in the castle.
Oh, sorry. I thought she was remembering. Never mind. I'm sorry, Silver. Let me put your voice away. Let me get you out of this whore's mouth.
Find and destroy the evil lurking in the castle.
The dichotomy of female voices on this channel. Alysicles turned on her side and would have gladly fallen asleep again were it not for the metal that cut into her palm.
Please tell me this is Kale's ring.
But she knew it wasn't. In her hand lay a coin-sized gold amulet on a delicate chain. She fought against the urge to scream. Made of intricate bands of metal, within the round border of the amulet lay two overlapping circles, one on top of the other. In the space that they shared was a small blue gem.
Circles one on top of the other, and then my brain rot sets in.
Anyway. In the space they shared was a small, in the middle of the Venn diagram, was a small blue gem that gave the center of the amulet the appearance,
blue on it.
the appearance of an eye. A line ran straight through the entire thing. It was beautiful and strange, and Alysicles faced the tapestry. The door was slightly ajar. She jumped from the bed, slamming into the wall so hard that her shoulder made an ugly cracking noise. Girl,
Stop hurting yourself.
Despite the pain, she rushed to the door and pulled it tightly shut. The last thing she needed was for whatever was down there to wind up in her rooms, or to have Elena show up again. Panting, Alexis stepped back, surveying the tapestry. The woman's figure rose up from behind the wooden chest. With a jolt, she realized it was Elena, just where the door was. She stood just where the door was. A clever marker. Alexis threw more logs onto the fire, quickly changed into her nightgown, and slid into bed, clutching her makeshift knife. The amulet lay where she had left it.
It will protect you.
Alexis glanced at the door again. No screams, no howls, nothing to indicate what had just happened. Still. Alexis cursed herself for it, but hastily attached the chain around her neck. It was light and warm. Pulling the covers up to her chin, she squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for sleep to come, or for a clawed hand to snatch at her, to decapitate her. If it hadn't been a dream, if it hadn't just been some hallucination, ... because we don't know how to end a sentence. Alexis clutched the necklace. Becoming the king's champion, she could do that. She was going to do that anyway. But what were Elena's motives? Aeriel needed the king's champion to be someone who understood the suffering of the masses. That seemed simple enough. But why did Elena have to be the one to tell her that? And how did it tie to her first command, to find and destroy the evil lurking in the castle? I don't know, it sounds like this whole thing was pointless because it didn't add anything to what Alexis is already doing. She already knows that there's something weird going on because there's been murders and word marks left around. And she already wanted to win.
Yeah.
So this has added a net zero to motivation, any interest. Like, we got a little bit more lore, but it doesn't connect to anything.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of dangling in the wind.
Yeah.
Just a piss into the wind kind of a chapter here. Alexis took a steadying breath, nestling farther into her pillows. What a fool she was for opening the secret door on Samhain. Had she somehow brought all this upon herself then? She opened her eyes, watching the tapestry.
Something evil dwells in this castle. Destroy it.
Didn't she have enough to worry about right now? She was going to fulfill Elena's second command, but the first, that might lead her into trouble. It wasn't like she could go poking about the castle whenever and wherever she pleased, either. Really, it seems like you've been doing plenty of that. And also just this, well, I'll do the thing that directly serves me and my interests, but saving the world, She really is a charmed one.
Yeah, she is. I'm all like, you are failing the protagonist role.
But if there was a threat like that, then not only her life was at risk, and while she'd be more than happy if some dark force somehow destroyed Kane, Parrington, the King, and Caltaine Rompier, if Nehemia or Kael and Dorian were somehow harmed, Alexis took a shuddering breath. The least she could do was look in the tomb for some clues. Maybe she'd find out something regarding Elena's purpose, and if that didn't yield anything, well, at least she'd tried. The phantom breeze flowed through her room, smelling of roses. It was a long while before Alexis slipped into an uneasy sleep. And there was your fucking Halloween chapter.
Thanks. I fucking hated it.
And it was shit. Well, it did fulfill the prophecy of making me dislike a dream sequence, because it fucking wasn't.
Thanks.
Also, why was she given to these strange dreams? What other strange dreams has she had? Can you think of any?
I don't know.
Did she astral project to the murders, or foresee coming to the castle, or any of that shit?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't remember anything like that. I don't think there's been any prophetic dreams before now. Like, I think there might have been a dream sequence before this, but it wasn't anything. It was just like a trauma dream. Like a here's my traumatic backstory kind of thing, not a here's plot information kind of dream. Well, anyway, I hope you're all having a fantastic little spooky season. Did you know that I wrote a horror book and you can buy it anywhere that books are sold online?
You should
check
buy
that
it.
out.
Buy that book. Yeah, boy.
Make sure you heed the content warnings because there's a lot of them, and you can view all of those at my website, www.roselinbooks.com, link in the description. Have a safe, spooky time, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye!
Bye!
Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to my patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or in the description below, please consider joining my Patreon. Your support means so much to me and allows me to continue making content. If you want to support my content in different ways, consider buying my books, donating on Ko-fi, subscribing to the channel, or even just giving this video a like and comment. Any and everything is appreciated so much. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden!